Hey everyone, I'm DC Rutledge and this is Two Hard Questions. This week we're going to discuss Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang's universal basic income proposal. Yang's UBI, or freedom dividend as he calls it, is being billed as an unconditional, no strings attached payment of $1,000 a month to every American citizen 18 years and up. He's being hailed by some on the left as a progressive challenger to Bernie Sanders, but a closer look at his marquee policy reveals a much more regressive proposal than at first glance, as well as some not so progressive fellow UBI supporters. And that's what we'll be looking at for this week's Two Hard Questions. First, let's talk about how Andrew Yang's universal basic income proposal would be implemented. It's virtually impossible to talk about this program's implementation without also talking about the proposed value-added tax Yang would roll out with it. A value-added tax, or VAT, is essentially a sales tax that occurs on every sale within the supply chain, and where each seller acts as a de facto tax collector. Yang often emphasizes the European Union's use of an average 20% value-added tax, but stresses that his VAT would be half of what the EU's is. Yang pitches this by saying,
and so what we need to do is we need to put in a new tax that actually gets the American public a slice of every robot truck mile, Amazon transaction, Facebook ad. And every other industrialized country already has this tax. It's called a value-added tax.
Except that's not quite how a VAT actually works. How it really works is kind of like a magic trick. Notice at the beginning of the supply chain, the lumber company sells $50 of raw materials to the furniture maker, but for $55 because of the additional 10% value-added tax. That extra $5 in tax collected is then sent to the government. Next, the furniture maker sells a table worth $120 to a retailer for $132, again adding on the 10% VAT. That extra $12 is then sent to the government, but the government then refunds the furniture maker for the tax they had to pay on the raw materials they purchased. Are you still with me? Good. Next, the retailer sells the $150 table to a consumer for $165 due to the VAT. But again, while the retailer sends that extra $15 collected to the government, at the same time they receive a refund of the $12 tax they paid when purchasing the table from the furniture maker, making the total net tax collected equal to $15, which is the exact amount added on to the end consumer's price tag. Whew! Sorry about that, but it is important that you see behind the curtain on this value-added tax so that you actually know who is the one paying it. It's not the businesses in the supply chain as Yang suggests. Remember, they got refunded for all the value-added taxes that they paid. It's the end consumer, aka you, who ends up bearing the full brunt of this value-added tax trick, making it literally just a fancy version of a sales tax. And it's not a replacement for the sales tax either, but an additional tax on top of the existing state and local sales taxes you currently pay for the things you buy. That means prices on all the goods and services you currently purchase are going to go up by at least 10% under Yang's plan. Sales taxes, like flat taxes, are incredibly regressive in that they take a larger percentage of income from poorer people than they do from wealthier people. And the addition of a value-added tax of 10% would exacerbate an already regressive system. Now let's talk about why a universal basic income is becoming so popular with big businesses, billionaires, and conservative think tanks. This proposal has gained momentum over the past few years, receiving endorsements from ultra-conservative groups like the Cato Institute and the American Enterprise Institute, as well as from tech titans like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and most notably Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg. The more conservative view is that a UBI would be a great way to get rid of existing social welfare programs like Medicare, Social Security, food stamps, unemployment insurance, etc. The big business and billionaire view, which is the one shared by Andrew Yang, comes at it from a different angle and can basically be summed up by saying,
"The robots are coming! The robots are coming!"
That's right. The artificially intelligent robot job stealers that these billionaires have had a big hand in designing and utilizing are now making them super concerned for the welfare of the American people. Or, more accurately, for their own bottom lines. And Yang is no different in that respect. In fact, he stresses that his plan is an economic benefit for businesses who've cut jobs due to automation.
If everyone in Missouri is getting $1,000, you know Amazon's going to see some of that because they're just going to buy more stuff.
Right.
That's true for all of the big companies. What I say to CEOs, and I've spoken to groups of dozens of CEOs, what's really bad for your business is when people don't have money to spend. What's good for your business is when they do. So they're going to give up some money at the top end, but they're just going to end up getting it back when their consumers end up spending a bit more.
So the motive behind Yang's UBI is not quite as altruistic as you might think from his sales pitch. And he's not being entirely forthright when he claims that it's for every American 18 years and older either.
And so if you show up to someone's door and say, hey, here's a dividend of $1,000 a month, but if you're already getting more than $1,000 in stuff, we're not just going to stack it on top. We're just going to say you're guaranteed $1,000, and if you're already getting more, then this doesn't touch you. You can keep your current stuff. So the $3 trillion actually shrinks a lot very fast because of the fact that about half of Americans are already getting various income support from the government.
According to Yang, 25% of the over $3 trillion annual cost of his plan will be, quote, paid for before you do anything, because recipients of existing government benefits will not be eligible for the full $1,000 per month. And although Yang says he wouldn't want to completely scrap existing government benefits programs like conservatives would, Andy Stern, the Yang campaign's chief advisor on this issue, is on record saying he would hope to be able to get rid of food stamps and unemployment insurance with a UBI. So Andrew Yang is basing nearly his entire presidential campaign on a standalone UBI that is not universal, that would indeed end certain social welfare programs, and that is not even meant to lift unemployed people out of poverty. Think about it. The federal poverty level for a single adult is $12,490, just over what Yang is proposing. And he has said repeatedly that his version of a UBI is meant to be a supplement to employment. You might be scratching your head right now thinking, if I don't have a job because of automation, what's my UBI supposed to be supplementing? And mind you, Yang is not supportive of government retraining programs or a federal job guarantee that would actually put unemployed people back to work at a living wage with benefits so that they would have an income for his freedom dividend to supplement. Let me be clear. I am not necessarily against a UBI if it were coupled with a federal job guarantee. But as a standalone policy, which Andrew Yang's proposal is, the best case scenario is that it's a big giveaway to business owners worried about consumer demand dropping because their robots took everyone's livelihood. Worst case scenario, it's a neoliberal Trojan horse that will lead to the dismantling of the social safety net in exchange for the promise of cash. And in that future, when an entitlement-hating conservative Congress inevitably regains power, your freedom dividend is going to be the only entitlement left for them to cut. Thanks for watching Two Hard Questions. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch every episode. Until next time, peace.